The force is female. This is the Rebel Scum Podcast.
You are always scum. Rebel Scum.
From odds making to list rankings, we've got you covered. And don't forget to join us on Patreon for exclusive content, early access, and more. Now, here's your host, me! Hello, I'm Erin, and welcome to the 159th episode of the Rebel Scum Podcast. It's a very special episode because today is International Women's Day. We'll be hearing from women in the fandom, from YouTubers, podcasters, and Rebel Scum supporters. Let's get started with executive producer Heidi Fetter's story of being a woman in the Star Wars fandom.
Growing up as a girl, I got teased a lot because I liked things like Star Wars or Star Trek or Super Friends, because those were things girls weren't supposed to be interested in. Only boys were supposed to be interested in that. However, I had a male cousin, who was a little bit younger than me, and he had the entire play sets because he lived in the town where the Kenner plant was. And I think what really got me started in the fandom was just playing with him, and we used to have fun for hours. So it's not just how great the films are, but just the camaraderie. And I think that's also why I enjoy being involved in this podcast, because of all the people I get to meet, and I like discussing things like Star Wars and theories and philosophies, and I've always been interested in that. Also, the thing about Star Wars, I would say you go in and like the first time you see A New Hope, you think it's only like 15 minutes because it's just like one quick roller coaster ride. And that last space battle scene where they blow up the Death Star, I mean that's just like no one had ever seen that before. And like I said, it's just like going on an intense roller coaster ride. You're never bored. Rise of Skywalker was over 2.5 hours, and I felt like I was only in the theater for half an hour because every scene was quick, and my eyes were always glued to the screen wanting to see what happened next. I would say also another aspect of the series that I liked, I think Leia was like the first sci-fi character to be a strong character. She wasn't just a princess damsel in distress. I mean, at one point in the movie, she actually is the one who gets them out of their predicament. She knows how to escape by blasting a hole into the trash compactor. So I think I kind of like that because there weren't a lot of roles at the time for women who could be the strong female lead. Also, I noticed the themes I like is how powerful love truly is. For the most part, in saving people, now you can say that it actually turned Anakin to the dark side because of his fear of losing Padme. And what's ironic is he's the one who accidentally kills her in the end because he does turn to the dark side. But you have Vader turning back into Anakin because of his love for Luke. You have Ben Solo turning back to the light side because of his love for Rey. And their dyad, their in the Force, their love connection, whether you believe that's platonic or I like to believe it's more romantic because I'm a bit of a Reylo fan. In the end, it's love that defeats Palpatine. So I would say my whole thing about Star Wars is just emotional feeling about it, between the camaraderie and the feeling I get when I watch the films or just discussing Star Wars with other people. And it's probably one of the things that influenced me down the road to write sci-fi fantasy. I mean, I have had recently 3 books published, and they were all like erotic sci-fi romances. So in a nutshell, I guess I would say those were things I liked about Star Wars. Thanks.
Thank you, Heidi. Rebel Scum Podcast has been on YouTube for almost 4 years, and over that time, we've made some great friends. Let's get the opening banter segment of the podcast started with our friends, Girls With Sabers.
Hello, everyone. We are Girls With Sabers. My name is Luthien.
And this is Emrys.
And we are so happy that Rebel Scum Podcast and James and Erin asked us to do this segment for them.
Yay! I'm excited.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
For International Day of the Woman.
Oh, so I guess this leads us to the topic of what is it like to be a female in the fandom that is Star Wars? Luthien, friend, what is your experience?
It is unicorns and rainbows.
My Little Pony glory.
Yes, rainbow bright, see the shining light. I would, for me personally, uh, it was not, it was very chill. Okay, let's start over. For me personally, it was very chill because I was like a little bit more than a casual fan, but I wasn't like knee deep in it. So for me, I was very readily accepted by anyone I talked to about Star Wars. And then I became a content creator. and thanks to you, lovely co-creator Emrys. And that I received the comments, and 99% of the comments are wonderful and astounding and just so welcoming, and so many other female creators, but definitely male creators, male driven channels, have been so welcoming, and have embraced us, which has been wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But there have, of course, been the trolls and the antis, whatever you want to call them, fanboys, who have been not so welcoming and have questioned uh, intelligence.
Oh
um,
gosh.
to be very professional and polite about it. So I never really entered that realm of discourse until I became a content creator. But that aside, I mean, everyone gets that, male or female. So that aside, um, my journey as a female in this fandom has been nothing but positive. So I know that's different for a lot of people, but my journey in any fandom, really, as a female, has been nothing but positive. So I'm very grateful that that has been the case for me. But I know it hasn't been the case for a lot of people, including you, Em.
Yes. Yes, including me. I'm sorry, I'm the woman of woe. In this. When I was a child, like you were saying, I had no problems being a fan. Like I played with my friends on the playground as Princess Leia. My mom did my hair in the two little side buns for Sunday school because I had two little guys. One was Luke and one was Han, so there was no divide.
Adorable.
And I think I yearn for those kind of days again where it's just fun. I do think the worst of it happened when the sequel trilogy came out. Um, I the negative fandom. And I think
Mhm.
that could just be the atmosphere of just the world today, of people having that security of being able to type whatever they want and say whatever they want um, behind a plexiglass screen. And so the harassment of the female fan or some of the derogatory language and things of that nature are more commonplace. They're more because it's just everywhere, and just the atmosphere of the fandom right now when there's so much divide and so much disappointment in the films. It does feel somewhat divided by what a man wants in Star Wars and what a woman wants in Star Wars. And I think that's what in this gender conversation is so difficult. It makes me tear up. uh, uh, I really think as as fans, and it always is, we really need to just sit down and listen to one each other. Like, you and I have talked about this. I love hearing the male perspective on anything, but especially Star Wars, because I am not a man, so I don't see. I as a human, I look at Luke's journey, and it resonates with me as being a human, and there's a commonality on that. But I will never know what it's like to grow up as a man, as a boy in this society. So there is some sort of like, do you know what I'm saying? There is like this
Oh, of course.
boundary where when it was with Ray, it felt so personal. With Ray, it felt it like I understood at a deeper level her journey, because it was going through that heroine's journey of where it was more about the internal struggle, the feelings of doubt and insecurity, the feelings of wanting belonging and seeking like a feeling of worthiness, where Luke never really felt that lack, that it was, he really wanted his place in this world, but it was more of, I want to show people that I'm a hero. Like, I want to be a Jedi like my father before me, or I want to be a pilot, or I want that kind of stamp in my passport. Where with Ray, all she wanted was someone to come home to her. I mean, that's it. I just, I've never felt like that about a character in Star Wars. And don't get me wrong, like, I love all of them. I love Leia. I mean, Leia is so important to us females of what she
Mhm.
represents, of the glass ceiling that she broke through. But she never went through that vulnerable journey with us. We never got to see the the moment where she felt extremely to the point of where she was left in poverty, not just poverty of material possessions, but poverty of the soul, of the spirit. So I
It
think
was
that,
certainly, sorry to interrupt you. It
no,
was
that's okay.
certainly, she certainly had her vulnerable
Oh,
moments,
yes, most
but
definitely.
as far as Ray is concerned, it was laid bare. I mean, you were
Yes.
meant to know from the beginning that, like, this was hard knocks. Like, it was the barest of the bare for her, and it was rough. And then this is all from her perspective. Um,
Yeah.
it's something that Star Wars has not seen before, and you you also got a sense of it with Padme, but again, um, uh, again, it was through the male lens.
Yep.
So Padme again was just like Leia. She had her vulnerable moments, but it was not the the beginning was not as raw like Ray's. It wasn't as tragic. Like you said, it was why so it resonated with so many people. Not that Leia and Padme didn't resonate, but Ray's beginning was so vulnerable and such a deeper level that it it hit a lot of people. Women. It
Yeah.
hit a lot of women
Well,
and young girls.
yeah, and Leia and Padme had anchors. They had anchors of
Right.
security and home. Um, Ray
Same
did
with
not.
Luke.
Yeah,
Same with
Luke,
Luke.
Anakin, his mother. Anakin also had Obi-Wan Kenobi. Uh, there, there was never a character except for Ray and Kylo Ren, and I think in the idea of anchor and home, Ray had it the worst. And I don't know, it was hard as a woman, and I never asked for Ray. I never asked for a female character to be the center of the Star Wars universe. But when it happened, there was just such hate for this character. And it boggled my mind of people calling her a Mary Sue, calling her like, oh, well, what's her struggle? What's her story? I mean, she just like is able to, duel Kylo Ren and win in her first duel. And I'm like, one, he was easy on her. Two, blah, 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 blah. You and I have discussed this. Like, I think that's why it was hard for me. I saw myself in Rey, and then I was told, well, this character is a Mary Sue, or just hate, just hate being slinged towards her. And I'm just, why? Why are we hearing um, such hate against this female character who's been through so much? And it just made me feel like, is this because she's a female? And for a long, long time, like I put that on the back of my mind. I'm like, no, it's not because she's a female character. Maybe it was just not presented well enough, or maybe something happened. Like, I didn't want my mind to go there, that she was being given so much hate because she's a female character. But then I got to the point where, yeah, because there's nothing else to explain why, for people who actually want to see the story. I don't see why. I don't understand the hate. And so in terms of Rey and explaining Rey to people, and by extension, explaining the female journey to people, it just saddened me, the this feeling of, you don't belong here, or we don't think your story is enough important. We don't want your kind of female in our fandom, meaning, the Raylo, or the Ray Stan, or whatever. I think that's what hit the worst. That's what is worse than the nerd gating and everything. It's this feeling of, you are not welcomed in this fandom, because what you now love about Star Wars, the connection you have with Rey and the connection with Raylo, is not welcomed in this community. And to me, that was just, it was so sad, because that's what a community is for. A community is to, like, sit around and, have some popcorn or whatever, and have fun and talk about what you love about Star Wars, and debate on what you don't like, and debate on theories. Like, of course, debates are fun, and disagreements can be fun too if they're presented in an accepting manner. But it was just like, it was baring teeth with this sequel trilogy, and it was so sad. And I feel like we're still paying for it.
But what I love about our channel is that even though it's hard to see all that, it's hard to even receive some of that.
Yes.
You got me, and homie don't play that. So I block. I use that block button, and it doesn't happen often. I have to say, like, we've been really, really blessed that I don't have to block people often, but I blacky black. And I don't care. I don't want that. Like, if it's geared towards us or someone else in the comments, I'm like, I don't need that here. There's all the time, like, there's enough time in the world, and there's a place for constructive criticism, or saying, like, very positively, hey, that part of the lore isn't correct, even though the lore is jacked right now. But, that part of the lore isn't correct. There's time and place. But the all-out vitriol, like, I think that's why we're so good and positive. Excuse me. And we're so good together, is because we each have our strengths, and mine is, I ain't taking that shit. out the door. Go over to another, channel where they readily accept that action, but not here, because we're moving on and we're being positive, and you find more reception
Yes.
when you're just
Yes.
positive. Keeping it positive, no matter if you didn't like something or not, just stay positive and move forward. I mean, that's just how we keep on keeping on. And it's hard. It's hard with the sequel trilogy. And again, not saying that the original trilogy and the prequels and even Rogue One, bringing up Jyn Erso as a really strong character who I actually loved, and I loved Rogue One.
Yes, I do
Um,
too.
it's hard. As females, we're so used to not only seeing stories with a feminine gaze, but having them be vulnerable. So that's something that females are very used to, and women are very used to reading, watching, taking in. For a man, that's not as simple, and not that they can't be vulnerable, but it's something that it's not, um, that doesn't come natural, doesn't come easy. So
Right.
I think that's, we just have to have empathy. I think that's one of the most important things in this world is empathy. And you don't know what someone else is dealing with on the other side of that screen. So it's like, hey, if we're not hurting anybody, leave us the heck alone, okay? Let us let's all enjoy what we want to enjoy. And you know it's easy to type words and hit send, but they affect everyone differently. But we're strong and we keep on keeping on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when James asked us how we kicked the door in, or kicked the door in as females on this fandom, I think that was one of the agreements that both Luthien and I had. We're going to do this in a positive way. Although we're hurt and we're entering this fandom as wounded Raylos, we're gonna we're gonna open the door with compassion and
Yeah.
understanding that even people who disagree with us, there are good and honorable people who disagree with us, and
Right.
some of those people are represented on this lovely channel, which is Rebel Scum Podcast. Like, we
Mhm.
disagree passionately with some of these wonderful men on this podcast, but like, that's what is good about a fandom, is when we disagree respectfully and we have conversations and we hear different people's point of views, we just learn and grow. And that doesn't mean that we have to accept and agree with everything, but just having the
Right.
conversation open and flowing. And
Yeah.
I guess that's what was so hard with this discussion about Ray. I don't care if Ray doesn't resonate. Like, I'm not trying to force Ray's journey to resonate with you or Raylo or whatever. It hurt. It hurt just for people to start attacking me or attacking other women just
Mhm.
for the plea of, please, like, learn from us, just like we learned with Luke or Anakin, or we saw what it's like to be Mel in part of
Mhm.
those stories. Well, Ray is telling you what it's like to be female in this world, and the vulnerability and the isolation and abandonment that we're experiencing. Are we good?
I think
But
so. I think you find a natural stopping point, unless they
uh,
want us to say bye, but I don't think
yeah,
so.
I guess maybe we should just go ahead and record a goodbye just in case.
Okay.
So, James, if you need a goodbye, here it is.
So long, farewell, Avita, saying goodbye.
So, thank you so much,
Goodbye.
James, and
Yeah.
everyone at the Rebel Scum podcast for having us on Women's Day. And on Women's Day, we just want to thank all the men in our life, because the
Yeah.
world would not be the same without you. And we love and appreciate you too. And thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye. Oh, and go check out our channel, Girls with Sabers, when
Oh my
they're on
gosh.
YouTube.
Thank you, Emerus and Luthien. I think it's time for some odds. Today's odds are brought to us, as always, by Patreon. Thank you to our supporters. Heidi Fedor, Barry Brophy, Dennis Allen, Mary Kristen Athon, Jeff Wilson, Erin Quinton, Al Schuler, Phil Staniforth, Janet Rubio, Rachel Alford, Austin Scherer, Scott D., Andy Higgins, Josh Price, Mason Hope, Matt W., Rez, Rural Farm Boy, Frank Perkins, Sooner Thrawn, Neil Lowry, D. Raven Spencer, Charlie Skywalker, Gleek Play 1, Kayla Davis, Automated Joy, Charlotte, Mariah Weekland, Jericho Kane, Girls With Sabers, and Denna Nerds. And now, here's Lauren from the GALactic Podcast with this week's odds.
Thanks, Erin. This is Lauren from the GALactic Podcast, and we are going to do some Never Tell Me the Odds. So let's get to it. Let's do the first one, and it's Never Tell Me the Odds of an animated series taking place between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. I'll have to put this pretty low for a couple reasons. Firstly, I'll give my percent. I'll put it at like 48%. Actually, I'll even go lower. I'll go like 30%, only because the time frame between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker is only a year. I think that's a good time frame for some comics, more novels, things of that nature. So I really don't see them doing any type of animation in between those two films specifically. I can see maybe post Rise of Skywalker, maybe some animation that way. But yeah, in between the two, I'll put it really, really low. I'll go like 30%, if anything, for sure. Let's go on to the next one. Never Tell Me the Odds. Aviar Kriss. She is the blonde Jedi on the Light of the Jedi High Republic cover. Aviar Kriss will find something that will set the events of the High Republic saga into motion. I'm going full Brock on this. I will say yes, 100%. I think her character will be very pivotal in this series and throughout the High Republic. There's some rumors that in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, there was a shot of a holocron opening with a figure that resembled this character, Aviar Kriss. So, could be very, very cool to have that little small connection. And to me, if that is kind of true, then I think this means that her character is pretty important, and I feel like she would be the one that will find something that will set the events of the High Republic in motion. Like I said, I'll go 100%. I'll go full Brock on this. I think she's going to be very, very big within the High Republic. Charles Soule has already said, obviously his book, The Light of the Jedi, is really kicking everything off. So, and she was pretty prominent in that poster cover, the cover art for the cover for the book. So yeah, I'll definitely say 100%. She will be the one that will find the events of the High Republic saga that will kick everything into motion. Alright, and let's go to that last one. Never Tell Me the Odds of characters from Resistance will appear in a future series on Disney+. I'll go 70% on this. I think that it is a good possibility we'll get some of these characters definitely in future animation, probably events post Rise of Skywalker, and that brings really a lot of new ground that they could do with these characters. Would really look forward to it. I'm all about animation right now. Like I said earlier, I would love to see more animation. I would love to see an animation theatrical movie that goes straight to Disney Plus. So yeah, this type of conversation, this type of medium, I love. I think this is where Star Wars really gets it, and I think Resistance did a really good job bringing the story between and within the Force Awakens and Last Jedi together, really in a very creative way, and these characters really kind of grew on you. Yeah, it might have been for a younger crowd, but the characters were still awesome, And I definitely think just how the series ended overall, I can definitely see them bringing them back and having some really fun adventures. So yeah, I'll go 70% on Resistance characters coming back in the future series on Disney Plus. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for having me on this awesome International Women's Day on Rebel Scum Podcast. And now Erin has the Hollow News.
Hollow News. Hollow News. All right, here's the news. The Mandalorian Season 2 has wrapped filming. Actress Gina Carano posted a picture on her Instagram with the caption, "That's a wrap on Season 2. I absolutely love this work and the people on it. And we absolutely love The Mandalorian and cannot wait for Season 2 this October." Looks like a new EA Star Wars game was accidentally leaked by PlayStation. The name of the working title is Maverick. The artwork paired with this accidental leak showed a Star Destroyer and X-Wings with the setting to be a lava planet, which would make us believe that it is Mustafar. According to the Rise of Skywalker novelization, Luke informs Rey that Leia could never be tempted by the dark side. He refers to Leia as the strongest Skywalker because of this. This isn't really news, but I wanted to share it. And this has been your 159th edition of the Hollow News. Top 5. Grab a glass of your favorite wine because for today's Top 5, we have Laura from the Force Toast Podcast, a Star Wars happy hour.
Hello, all you Rebel Scum out there. Laura here from the podcast Force Toast, a Star Wars happy hour. My co-host Alice and I are big readers of the Star Wars canon novels, and we often discuss, review, and recap them on our show. However, we've never really done any kind of ranking, so I'm excited for the opportunity to share my top 5 favorite canon novels with all of you. I have to admit, I had a hard time narrowing this down, so I'm going to throw an honorable mention out there to Dooku Jedi Lost, the audio drama by Cavan Scott that came out in 2019. I absolutely love the story, the new characters introduced, and how it really rounded out the characters I thought I knew, like Sifo Dyas and Yoda, and even Dooku himself. If you're listening to this in real time, know that this is a great time to familiarize yourself with Cavan Scott's writing style, as he is one of the story architects of Star Wars Publishing's newest initiative, Project Luminous. So to start, I really want to recommend the entire Thrawn trilogy as my number 5, but I'm going to focus on Book 1. The first book of the canon Thrawn trilogy, simply titled Thrawn by Timothy Zahn, is a tale of 2 origin stories set between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. The novel focuses on the titular character's rise through the ranks of the Imperial Navy. It's basically Holmes and Watson in space, with Grand Admiral himself in the Holmes role and young Imperial cadet Eli Vanto as the Watson character. Cast Admiral Yularen as Lestrade and add an evasive mystery pirate, and this shit is a proper whodunit. The B-plot follows Arinda Price's climb and occasional mist rung up the socio-political ladder. Star Wars Rebels fans will recognize Price as the governor of Lothal during the show's run, and while she's a pretty one-dimensional villain in the animated series, this book gives Price depth and somehow makes her relatable. Feels icky saying it. She's a very self-serving, maniacal psycho bitch, but she encounters her fair share of betrayal along the way, enough so that it feels pretty satisfying when her opponents get what's coming to them. While reading Thrawn, there's no doubt that you will find yourself rooting for him. Sure, he's the protagonist of this book, but in the grand scheme of the Galactic Civil War, Thrawn is the villain. He's just so good at what he does. He's also constantly surrounded by smug, bigoted assholes, so you really can't help but want him to triumph over them. Pro tip, if you ever thought of giving audiobooks a try, the Thrawn trilogy is a great option to get in audiobook form. Mark Thompson's Thrawn is identical to Lars Mikkelsen's performance in Rebels, so if you're a Rebels fan, the audiobook is a real treat. Speaking of Rebels, I need to preface my number 4 pick by saying that I am a huge Star Wars Rebels fan. So when I started watching the show and found out that there was a book centered on my favorite couple, I dropped everything, downloaded the ebook, and just ate it up start to finish. A New Dawn is a prequel to Rebels, set about 6 years before the start of the television series, or about 8 years after Order 66. Former Jedi Padawan Kanan Jarrus is working as a transport pilot and bartender on a mining colony. He's keeping his former Padawan status a secret, he's drinking, he's partying, he's hooking up with girls, and just doing everything in his power to detach himself from reliving the night his master was gunned down by clones during the fall of the Jedi Order. One day he hears the most beautiful voice in the galaxy confronting some local thugs. He goes to investigate and learns that the voice belongs to the beautiful green-skinned Twi'lek woman, Hera Syndulla. Now, Hera has big Leia energy. She's young and beautiful and smart, and she seems to think of herself as an activist, but it's kind of horseshit. She's a spy in whatever early iteration of the rebellion existed back then. Mainly, she's an immensely talented pilot. Unfortunately, this book isn't really about her, so to be honest, she's not a very well-developed character in A New Dawn. This book really succeeds more in its side characters, like Skelly, a demolitions expert and Clone Wars vet, who is desperately trying to warn everyone about the dangers of all the mining activity that's going on in the system, but no one will listen to him. There's also Zaluna, who's a manager at a surveillance firm, who ended up being a very valuable ally to Kanan and Hera. The villain of the story is interesting enough, think General Grievous, but less stupid. But he's nothing compared to Ray Sloane, an Imperial officer on the rise. I'm not always inclined to cheer for the villain, but Sloane is incredibly compelling, and it's been really rewarding as a reader to see her pop up again and again in other Star Wars novels. She's just a badass, and the dynamic between her and Kanan in this book is really fun. Essentially, this is the story of how Kanan and Hera met and their first adventure together, though again, it's mostly Kanan's story. A New Dawn is by John Jackson Miller, who Legends fans may recognize as the writer of the novel Kenobi. Fair warning, if you take the time to check out A New Dawn, you may be compelled to finally dive into or rewatch Star Wars Rebels. On to my number 3, The Rise of Skywalker novelization. I am privileged to live in Chicago and to have attended C2E2 at the end of February, where I was able to pick up an early release of The Rise of Skywalker Expanded Edition novelization written by Ray Carson. Now, I know that this is supposed to be my top 5 favorite canon novels, and the novelizations represent a sort of gray area. Here's the rule as I understand it. If an individual scene in a novelization contradicts what happens on screen, it's not canon. For instance, in the Force Awakens novel, Poe and Rey meet in person. In the movies, they don't meet until the end of The Last Jedi. The film takes precedent. Sidebar, over. Now, there are already a lot of leaks out there for the Rise of Skywalker novelization. I'm not going to get too spoilery here, but I am going to get mildly spoilery. If you wish to avoid it, skip ahead about a minute or so. Okay. I just finished reading and annotating The Rise of Skywalker because I am writing up a review for the Force Toast website, so this will kind of be a little bit of a preview of that. I'm not going to recap the novel right now. You all saw the movie. You know what it's about. But this expanded novelization takes you beyond what we see on screen. We get to dive into characters' heads in pivotal scenes like Leia training Rey on the Resistance base and Han and Ben Solo on the Death Star wreckage. We also get bonus scenes that weren't in the film, like Kylo Ren interrogating Chewbacca on the Steadfast and Luke periodically nagging at Leia throughout the story. For me personally, it just made a lot of components I didn't like about the film a little easier to swallow. Things like Jedi Leia, which seems to be a direct contradiction to the Aftermath novel Life Dead, or the entire concept of Palpatine still being alive. There's a lot of what I would call necessary exposition in the novelization that explains how that came to be. For me, the book accomplishes what 4 viewings of the film The Rise of Skywalker couldn't. It makes the film acceptable for me. After reading Ray Carson's novelization, I've made peace with a lot of things that I didn't like about the movie, and I got to revel in the glorious details of all the components I loved. So I highly recommend reading it when it comes out on March 17th, 2020. I am certain that I won't be the only one to include Claudia Gray's young adult novel Lost Stars on my top 5, so I'm not going to dwell on it too long, but I will say this. Lost Stars provides a warm, welcoming gateway for a lot of Star Wars fans who are just getting started with reading the canon novels. It's always the first novel I recommend to anyone who asks, for several reasons. Number 1, it's set during the original trilogy. While the prequel and sequel trilogies have each endured very vocal criticism from fans over the years, the original trilogy remains a sort of fan-neutral zone. Even if it's not someone's favorite trilogy, I've never met a Star Wars fan who actually dislikes it. Reason 2, in a way, it was the OG from a certain point of view. While we occasionally encounter main and supporting characters from the original trilogy, Lost Stars really isn't about them. They serve more as Easter eggs throughout the book so that the protagonist's story can really shine. And the final reason, it's just really good. Claudia Gray is an amazing writer, and it's a great story, and it plays so cinematically. I can't believe Lucasfilm didn't scrap the book in favor of turning the story into a film or a television series. It's just that good. So for the last 3 years or so, Lost Stars has been my number one favorite Star Wars canon novel, but all of that recently changed after I finished reading/listening to the audiobook of Dark Disciple. This book has been recommended to me more times than I can count, and for some reason I put off reading it. I think it was because I never had much love for Asajj Ventress or for the prequel films, so I've never really been in a huge hurry to pick up this Clone Wars era novel. I could kick myself now for putting it off, but having just finished reading it for the first time, it has jumped right up to my top spot. The story begins with the Jedi Council conspiring to assassinate Count Dooku in order to bring a swift, albeit violent end to the Clone Wars. It's a very un-Jedi-like mission, so Obi-Wan pitches the idea of sending Jedi Knight Quinlan Vos to go undercover and get close to Dooku in order to complete the task. Vos is kind of unorthodox, and he already has a lot of experience going undercover, so the Council agrees. Obi-Wan assigns the mission to Vos, and he tells him, "Look, I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but it wouldn't hurt if you partnered up with Asajj Ventress on this. Hear me out. She knows Dooku, she hates Dooku, she's already tried to kill his ass once, and she likes flirting while she's fighting, and she's just kind of awesome." So Vos is like, dope, she does sound awesome. That's just the setup for the novel. Eventually, Ventress and Vos team up, and she teaches him some dark side stuff because he's gonna need that to kill Dooku, and it's awesome because it's deep, weird Force stuff, and there are creatures, and there's Night Sister magic, and it's so fun. It's also legit so sexy to watch the unlikely partnership between Vos and Ventress evolve into this enemies to lovers dynamic in this really organic way. I can't recommend this book enough. It's written by Christy Golden with input from Katie Lucas, who is the daughter of George Lucas, who worked as a writer on the animated series The Clone Wars. And that's all I've got. My top 5 favorite canon novels. If you're looking for a place to start in your Star Wars reading, hopefully this was helpful. The books really do bring something special to storytelling in a galaxy far, far away. Again, my name is Laura, I co-host the Force Toast podcast, and I tweet a lot about Star Wars, so come find me on Twitter at shutup_Laura and let me know what's on your list.
Thanks for that Star Wars happy hour, and thank you all for watching, liking, and subscribing. Let's send it over to Rebel Scum Patreon subscriber Reaper Girl 27 with her Star Wars story.
Hi guys and gals, it's Reaper Girl 27 from Twitter, author of Edge of Hope. I'm just here to say hi and to kind of check in with the girls since it's International Women's Day and the boys are taking a back seat. Erin's got the con, so everything is just going to be amazing. So please stick with us and join in. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, go over to Patreon and become Rebel Scum, just like me. And if you really, really like the show, let us know. Leave us a comment down there in the bottom, okay? Because everybody knows that the girls are gonna do it better. Well, I was asked to provide a little bit of point of view on my Star Wars family kind of experience being a woman. I really haven't had very many negative experiences, thankfully, with my male counterparts in the Star Wars family. Pretty much everybody is, like I said, we're just a big family. Most of the time, if I have any kind of arguments or discussions that get a little bit heated between me and my fellow fam boys, it's generally kind of okay. Most of the men respect the women in this community quite well. Pretty much from my point of view, I think it's because they grew up seeing strong women portrayed in Star Wars, like Leia or Padme or even Shmi or now Rey. Pretty much they kind of learned over the course of being a fan and being immersed in Star Wars that you really don't want to mess with a woman, because you never know when she might be a girl with sabers, or she could just be Rebel Scum with a blaster in her back pocket, or she could be strong with the Force and be a Jedi like Leia Organa, or then again she could be a Mandalorian. You never know. You just really don't want to mess with the women. So pretty much, like, I've always found, I primarily for my life, I've always had friends that are guys. So having women as friends is a completely new and amazing experience for me, because there's so many different things that I never really picked up on or got to enjoy before all of these amazing, intelligent, articulate women kind of turned me on to certain things. Like, I just never would have really picked up on being kind of more along the lines of a tomboy type fangirl, where I generally prefer my geek uniform with an awesome t-shirt, jeans, and my Converse. I'm more of a relaxed fangirl than I'm more of a Jyn Erso versus a Padme Amidala. Seems like Padme really, really loved her couture. Not that I'm knocking it, man. I really wish I could rock some of those dresses. But I just don't see how she made it halfway across the galaxy in those heels. Jyn and Leia are kind of more the pragmatic women. They're just like, boots. Boots are the way to go. Utilitarian, comfortable. Rey's boots in her ensemble, now that she's rocking it, they kind of, from what I've seen here and around and been shown, that they're Uggs that have just been cut down and made to look spacey, I guess is the word. But ultimately, like, having met so many amazing women recently in the Star Wars family, it's been almost like a culture shock, but it's been very supportive and loving and nurturing, and they just kind of generally have helped me kind of realize that, yes, you can hang with the boys and talk, detailed information and dig into the structural archives of all things Star Wars and still be a kick-ass woman that deserves respect, demands that, her opinions and her point of view be taken into account, and, not be pegged as somebody who's just looking at a hot guy on screen and that's why we want him back. You know who I'm talking about. It's generally just been an amazing experience. Like, I absolutely, my Star Wars family has grown by leaps and bounds over the last couple of months, and I have friends for life. I have sisters, and I have all of these amazing people that now are in my corner and I'm in their corner, and we kind of are able to express, what we love and share that. And that's not something that I've really had. Primarily, like, I've never been as active as I have been of recently on Twitter. I've kind of always sort of felt like I needed to censor myself, because sometimes I can fangirl quite hard. I could literally sit and talk Star Wars all day, every day, 24 hours a day. As long as I've got coffee, I'm good. But it kind of grows thin on friends that I have that know nothing about Star Wars, have no interest in Star Wars, which it boggles my mind that those people even exist. But, Star Trek has to have their fandom. I can't say enough good things about these women that now I'm proud to, call my Star Wars family, my Girls With Sabers, my Four Leaf Clover, my, you know, all of these amazing women, Katie Wren, Misconduct, Erin here at Rebel Scum Podcast. I really can't say enough good things about these amazing women. They're such role models, and they really personify what it is to be a strong woman in a group of fans that
really are very opinionated and have their own ideas about how things, kind of line up, or how this character is seen and portrayed, and how this is this and that's that. But generally, it's never turned into what any other kind of open discussion I've ever had about anything with a woman has been, which is refreshing, and it makes me feel very safe. That's one of the most personal and important things I could probably say, is that I haven't had a single woman catfight me or jump down my throat. It's just been an amazing just sea of welcoming arms and positivity and love and support, and it's absolutely incredible. I feel very honored and very gifted. Um, the main character out of Star Wars, if you haven't been able to tell from all of my posts and Edge of Hope, is Leia. I absolutely adore Leia Organa. I absolutely love everything that she's about. I love that she kind of portrays quite a few of the women in the Star Wars family, where she's not only strong and hard and very kind of authoritative at times, but also soft and comforting and supportive and wise. And it just kind of really shows that she is the heart of that core group. And I think all of us ladies here in the Star Wars family, that we have our own kind of go-to crew that we look at as our Han and our Luke and our Leias and our R2s and C3POs and our Chewies. We all have that kind of core group of people that have been with us from the beginning, that we may add members to, like the sequels and the prequels have brought other characters and other people into our lives. We kind of, I don't, we really don't get rid of anybody. We really just kind of welcome everybody. And that's one of the things that I'm most grateful to have experienced as a woman in the Star Wars family, is that it's just been complete and total, just open arms. Like, where have you been this entire time? Why haven't you been around this entire time? And it's because I had my account on private and I didn't know you couldn't see me. But I'm here now. And I love talking with you guys, and I hope you will continue to tweet at me, read Edge of Hope, DM me. Let's, I think, I've said it before, the Rilo Alliance. I think, all of my sisters in the Rilo Alliance, we need to, plan a state of, a heads of state meeting somewhere in neutral territory, so that we can all have our own private little girl wars party and expand upon this International Women's Day theme. But I don't want to make this too long. I hope every single one of you have an amazing day. You are strong. You are beautiful. You are courageous and just amazing. Keep putting out your art. Keep using your voice and keep being yourself. That's one of the things that I love the most about all of my sisters that I've met in the Star Wars family, is you guys allow me to be me. You don't make me struggle or censor myself. You really kind of, I never feel alone. You guys, you have my back, and hope unites us is what I always kind of try to say. And I always say that we are a Star Wars family, and you guys are a part of my family, and that that means more to me than you could possibly imagine. Carrie is a part of my family. Mark, Harrison, you know Adam, Daisy, John, everybody. I can't say enough amazing things about the cast of these films, that, Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman, Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I, I absolutely, and then, I mean, even the extended Star Wars family with the Fanboys cast and everything. Mr. Dan Fogler, Jay Baruchel, Kristen Bell, who is the epitome of all things fangirl. I absolutely love Kristen for the heart and the soul that she put into Zoe, and the perspective that she gave about being a female in the Star Wars fandom. I feel a lot like Zoe at times, where I show my fan card a little too hardcore, and some of the boys are just like, okay, dial it back a bit. No need to go, full Akbar on us. Let's just pull it back. Be a little bit more Obi-Wan and a little less Anakin. Um, but I've always got to go full Anakin. Who can go half Anakin? What is half Anakin? Anyhow, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of these amazing women that follow me, chat at me, give me support, show me love. All of my friends that are members of the Rilo Alliance and that give my little pet project, Edge of Hope, the love and attention that I can't believe it's receiving. So thank you, ladies, for having my back on that. I really appreciate it, and I hope I'm making all of you proud. I hope I make Carrie Fisher proud with how I'm portraying her and Ben, and giving her her due, because she is royalty. She is our princess, and I like to believe that in her own subtle way, Carrie kind of gave every girl in the Star Wars family a taste of what it felt like to not only wear the crown, but to be in charge completely, and to be able to hang in there with the boys no matter what happened. I really kind of, I feel like there have been some amazing female characters that have come out of Star Wars, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I mean, from Leia to Ahsoka to Padme to Jyn Erso to, there's just Rose Tycho. There's so many amazing female characters, and it makes me feel really good to know that there is somebody that if I ever had a kid of my own, I'd have for them to look up to, and that they would be completely and totally set for life with all of the amazing women that, I stand with and stand next to in this family, that are so awesome, not only for the knowledge that they know, but for the passion that they show for their art, for their favorite character, for their storyline, for their interests and opinions and point of views. It's an amazing kind of group and collection and collaboration of women, and I don't think there's any other place on the planet that something like this could exist except in the Star Wars family. So, ladies, I love you. Have a wonderful day. Embrace your power. Wear your crown. And rock out like a rebel scum.
Don't forget, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or whatever platform you listen to your podcast. And you can watch us on YouTube. Until next time, I'm Erin, and you were always scum.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on this video, and be sure to subscribe to the Rebel Scum podcast channel for all the latest videos.